Hillary Clinton ordered Kennedy out 46 later. He froze her cold on live TV. The studio lights were blazing, cameras rolling, and millions of eyes tuned in across the country. The debate stage was no stranger to drama, but what happened that night would be remembered for years. It wasn't just politics, it was personal. John Kennedy, known for his sharp wit and fearless honesty, walked confidently onto the stage. He wasn't the polished kind of politician who measured every word. He spoke from the gut, and that's what drew people to him. On the other side stood Hillary Clinton, seasoned, sharp, and undeniably powerful. She had been through the highest levels of politics and was used to commanding the room. The tension was electric. Barely 10 minutes into the broadcast, Kennedy made a remark that challenged Clinton's record in a way no one had dared to do live on national television. His words weren't cruel, but they cut straight to the truth. The audience stirred, gasping, some clapping nervously. Hillary's face stiffened. With the poise of someone who had dealt with countless challengers, she leaned toward the moderator's microphone. "Mr. Kennedy," she said, her voice cold and clipped, "if you can't respect the rules of this discussion, you are free to leave. In fact, to leave now." The studio went silent. Cameras zoomed in on her, capturing the steel in her eyes. She wasn't asking. She was ordering. The kind of order that came from decades of wielding influence at the highest levels. Kennedy's smile faded. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to pause. The air grew heavy, and even the moderator looked stunned. Security shifted uneasily in the corners. Was he really about to be escorted out? Live on TV, the seconds ticked. 10, 20, 30. The silence stretched unbearably long. Then, at 46 seconds, just when the audience thought he might actually walk off, Kennedy leaned forward, steady, his voice low but resonant enough to pierce through every living room watching at home. "Hillary," he said, locking eyes with her, "you can order me off this stage, but you can't order the truth to leave with me." Gasps erupted from the crowd. His words weren't shouted. They weren't angry. They were calm, almost gentle, but they carried the weight of something undeniable. He didn't flinch, didn't back away. He just stood there, letting silence finish what his words had begun. Hillary blinked, her face faltering for the briefest second. She had expected defiance or retreat, not this quiet, immovable conviction. The cameras caught Ida. The momentary freeze, the power shift. For once, she didn't have a rehearsed response ready. The moderator cleared his throat nervously, trying to pull the show back on track, but the energy in the room had shifted. Kennedy hadn't just refused to leave, he had exposed something deeper, the fear that raw honesty could topple polished power. The debate continued, but the balance was gone. Kennedy spoke with clarity, each sentence striking with more force because of the moment that had just passed. The audience listened differently now. Even those who disagreed with him leaned forward, curious, because they saw a man who would not be silenced, even by one of the most formidable political figures in America. By the time the closing statements came, the tension had melted into something else: a respect, not just from the audience, but from his opponent too. Hillary, though visibly unsettled, gave him a slight nod as the credits rolled. She knew, as everyone did, that Kennedy had changed the course of that night up and perhaps of the conversation beyond it. When the debate ended, people flooded social media. Clips of the 46 seconds spread like wildfire. Hashtags trended. Commentators replayed the moment again and again, analyzing every detail, the pause, the delivery, the look on Clinton's face when Kennedy's words landed. But beyond the noise and the politics, what resonated most with people was the message. Kennedy had stood firm, not with anger, not with arrogance, but with truth. And in a world where many felt silenced or powerless, that one act of courage gave them a voice. The next morning, headlines didn't read about policy proposals or debate points. They carried one story: the man who froze Hillary Clinton cold in 46 seconds. And in homes across the country, people whispered to themselves a quiet reminder: sometimes, all it takes to stand against power is the courage to hold your ground. Because truth doesn't need permission, and it doesn't walk off stage.